Hello, I'm Rob Westervelt, welcoming you to the 2019 GPCA Forum. And I'm delighted to be joined by Darren Davis, who is CEO of Modern. Darren, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Start with a sort of overview question. You invested very heavily in building channels to market for local and international growth. Are you now positioned to capture growth from those investments?
I think we've made the first few steps. There's a lot more to do. I think that the channels to market are key, particularly in phosphate. If you talk about aluminium and gold, these are commodities, so there's plenty of channels to market there. The challenge is in phosphate. It's a much more customer-focused product, so you need to be able to get directly or much closer to customers than you do in the other commodities. So that's why the key markets for us are the big growth markets in phosphate, which are Latin America, Africa, and South Asia. South Asia obviously is relatively easy. India's just $8 shipping away. We have presence there already. The Meridian acquisition we made a couple of months ago in East Africa is the first step at building that channel. There's more to do, but it's the first step, and as I said, there's a lot more to do before we can say we've fully realized that. And as we keep growing the phosphate business, we'll have to do more to expand those channels as well.
And talk about the plans in phosphate. Where are you there in terms of investment and expansion?
So we've gone from 0 to 3 to 6 million tons of DAP equivalent in the last 7 years. The plan next is to go to 9 million tons. Rather than building out another one hit expansion, we're going to do this in phases up to 2025 is our current plan. So we'll add a million tons here, a million tons there, and then a million tons in a final phase. That'll take some time, and it's really driven by what the market can absorb. As we've seen in the market in the last 12 months particularly, that there's a little bit oversupply in the market. Demand is good, but there's too much supply. We just want to make sure we time as well as we can the next phase of our expansion. But it will come. We have the resources, we have all the inputs we need. We're one of the most competitors, if not the most competitive producer in the world. We are the natural source of future demand.
And how are you positioning yourself in international markets? How are you opening those channels for Modern?
Well, it's things like Meridian. So acquisition is one channel. Working with partners is another channel. So we do that in Latin America, for example. Working with people who already have established networks, logistics, and a presence in some of the key markets like Brazil. So it's a mixture of partners and the acquisition, which is a direct presence. I think we'll probably move more towards the direct presence through acquisitions or maybe investments with partners in the future, rather than just having contractual relationships.
And what about in Saudi domestic markets? What's the strategy there?
Saudi is just about growing, really. If you look at the, obviously phosphate demand is not particularly large in a small agricultural economy like Saudi. Gold, we're exporting doré for refining. Aluminium, there is some domestic demand there. The local story really is about building up supply. We have a good base of resource, particularly in bauxite and phosphate. We have good potential in gold and base metals. We need to explore that. So really it's investing continually in what we see as world scale, world class mineral resources in the kingdom, and particularly those 4 areas: phosphate, bauxite, gold and base metals.
You've touched on partnerships through the discussion here and in your presentation as well. How is the nature of partnerships changing for Modern?
Good question. When we first started out, we were a little gold company. So when we did our first mega project in phosphate, we partnered with SABIC to help bring us the project technology particularly, and the skills of managing large projects. It was a almost $6 billion project. It was the biggest thing we'd ever done. On the aluminium, we bought Alcoa, because aluminium was something we'd never done before, so we needed a partner there, again, especially around the technology. As we moved to our second large phosphate, we took a majority there and we took more of the lead there. So although we had a partner there, it was more on the marketing side and the technology side, which is Mosaic. I think as we go forward, we'll less be looking for technology partners or marketing partners. I think we have a good base of that now, and operational skill. I think it's going to be more about risk sharing. I think as we go, especially globally, we're going into places that are new to us. I think there'll be an opportunity there to work with other companies that see a natural partnership with a Saudi company in some jurisdictions as being advantageous to them, and we'll be seeing someone who maybe knows a bit more about that country than we do, or maybe brings particular local technical or marketing knowledge to that location.
You mentioned the Meridian deal. What would future acquisitions look like?
could be a combination of things. It could be an either acquisition or it could be just JVs, for example. So in phosphate, it could be acquiring more distribution networks. So it's the infrastructure of distribution. You know, it's port access, warehouses, logistics infrastructure. It could be around more production or blending facilities. So we could have more downstream actual production outside of Saudi Arabia rather than just having it all in Saudi Arabia. So it'd be a combination of things.
Well, great. Darren, thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure.